I mean, that is the thing. You look at it and go, this is a portrayal of America that does not exist at the moment.
Steven Spielberg is the consummate director of contemporary cinematic childhood. His films are drenched in youth, as is this book. Children have been his most... This is very good. Anyway, my latest internet delivery has arrived.
Fantastic.
That was my internet shopping of the week, and it finally came. It only took like 10 days or something, 2 weeks, something like that.
It's amazing living in the modern world, isn't it? Everything moves so fast.
The Kermode and Mayo Christmas Movie Spectacular is back.
It is. It is amazingly. It's back on December the 7th. It's at 2:30 p.m. in the afternoon at the Prince Edward Theatre in the West End, the glamorous West End of London.
Yes. Festive cinematic witterings and characteristic bickering live on stage in a sequel that gives this year's biggest blockbusters a run for their money, it says here.
A Christmassy extravaganza, it says here, will feature all the best bits from the podcast, so reviews of the week's newest releases, interviews with the stars of the silver screen, and I'm afraid the Christmas cracker laughter lift. I'm sorry.
Is it still a silver screen?
Well, actually, funnily enough, some of them are, some of them aren't. I was in Sony the other day, and I was talking to the projectionist, and I had two screen options. Not that Sony, the other Sony. Not us Sony, the other Sony. Not Wayland Yutani Sony, but Sony. And I said to Adam, which are the two screens of the better? He said, well, that one's got a silver screen. So, okay, fine, I'll go for that. Slightly brighter.
Plus the return of Simon and Mark's to Mind, our Christmas quiz, where the audience members will go head-to-head in a film buff battle for the ages for a VIP pass to come and have a mince pie with us backstage. And prizes do not get more worthless than that.
How important do you have to be? And tip-top guests. Don't know who they are yet, but of course last year we had the brilliant Nick Park and Wallace and Gromit.
Sunday, 7th of December, 2:30 p.m. Tickets start £27.50, and the dedicated link is fane.co.uk/Kermode-Mayo. It's a lot of punctuation here. So that's fane, fane.co.uk/Kermode-Mayo. It's going to be live from 3 p.m. on Thursday. We look forward to seeing you there. And you can email correspondence@kermodeandmayo.com for any other business. I have got my outfit already sorted.
Have you?
So that's something very, very lovely. Yeah.
What are you going to wear?
I am going to come dressed as Leonardo DiCaprio's character in One Battle After Another, which is very similar to the guy. Oh, what's the name of the lead character in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
Arthur Dent.
Arthur Dent. So Arthur Dent in his dressing gown is pretty much where Leonardo DiCaprio is for One Battle After Another.
Arthur Dent,
so that's where we should all be.
As he is referred to all the way through by Slarty Bartfast, Dent Arthur Dent. Because Slarty Bartfast says to him, what's your name? And he says, Dent, Arthur Dent. And Slarty Bartfast says, well, Dent Arthur Dent.
Okay, very good. So, in fact, that could be quite an interesting thing. If you come in with your dressing gown, you would instantly look like either you're in Hitchhikers or you're in a Paul Thomas Anderson film.
Yeah, I think that kind of depends on...
I just realised that.
The bedraggled demeanour of the rest of you.
I actually haven't got a dressing gown, so that's going to have to change, I think. Okay. I know what I want for Christmas. Anyway, correspondence@kermode.com. We look forward to hearing from you. Tell us about a movie that's out and fabulous, or just interesting.
Yeah, well, fabulous as it happens. Urchin, which is the feature directorial debut from Harris Dickison, British actor who came on the show. I think he came on our show. Did he come to talk about Scrapper, or was he talking about Triangle of Sadness?
The ship film.
Triangle of Sadness, the ship vomiting film, yeah. Obviously, previously in Beach Rats, County Lines, and then co-starred with Nicole Kidman in Babygirl. Also writes this and appears in it in a cameo role in Urchin. Although I had interviewed him on stage at the BFI, and he said, "Yeah, I only came in to that role. Actually, it's not a cameo role; it's a fairly major role." He said there was somebody else earmarked for it, but at the very last moment they couldn't do it, and because we'd done so much prep, I stepped into it because we didn't think somebody else could get up to speed fast enough. So, stars Frank Dillane, who won the Un Certain Regard Best Actor Award at Cannes. So he's Michael, who we meet apparently living rough, see him begging on the streets. Someone tries to help him out, offers to take him to a cafe to buy him some food. Instead, he assaults them, beats them up, steals their watch, and promptly gets arrested. The assault is brutal. His manner is desperate. And as I said, the consequences are fairly swift. And then when he gets out of prison, the film basically follows his attempts to find his feet in the world. We see him being processed for temporary accommodation. We see him trying to find work. We see him trying to make friends and contacts, and then finding work and trying to hold down the job. But something is fundamentally out of whack. His personality is very abrasive, very aggressive, and he essentially blames everyone else for his problems. Here's a clip with a little taste of Urchin.
Why are you acting like this for no reason? I come in here all the time.
Oğlum bunu tanıyor musun?
I come back with leftovers later, I drop it back. I'll do that for you, my friend. My friend?
Go and get it, I'll give you this stuff. Just go and get your money and then come.
Say, why are you acting like this? You're acting like this for no reason. What's wrong with you? Why don't you trust me? Why don't you trust me?
I get some long papers.
Why don't you trust me? I'm an honest person. I work hard. I'm trying to be...
£1, yeah?
You know?
Thank you.
Every day I wake up to this feeling, man. It's like someone's there just saying, no, you can't come in, you know? It's like, no, not for you. Not for you. Do you ever feel like that?
So you get a sense of it. The music for the film is by Alan Myson, who's a British composer who I hadn't actually come across before.
Sounds like a John Carpenter score.
With that kind of, that electronic, strange. It's a little bit Assault on Precinct 13 going on in the background there, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the thing is that he's essentially a very hard character to like. I mean, and the thing that I was thinking of immediately was like the Safdie brothers, that film Heaven Knows What. And in fact, there'll be more talk of the Safdie brothers later on in the program. And the challenge for filmmakers in both cases is, how do you make an audience care about a character who is basically doing everything they can to alienate everyone around them, everyone on screen, and therefore, by implication, everyone in the audience? And I think it is a real credit to Harris Dickison and his filmmaking that he is able to do that. He is able to kind of draw you into the world of a character who is really, really hard to get on with, because they are struggling, with getting on with themselves. And there's no sense of soft soaping the character's behavior. I mean, as I said at the beginning, when you see him assaulting this guy who's trying to help, it's horrible. But the approach is very non-judgmental, and it encourages us, the audience, if not to sympathize with this character, but to empathize with them, to attempt to understand how it is that they are where they are and why they are. So on the one hand, the film has this kind of gritty edge, which whenever you talk about, I suppose, some British movies with a gritty social realist edge, you end up saying, well, it's like Ken Loach, because you think, that what you're watching is a kind of snapshot of life on the streets, and it seems to be very realistic. But the kind of depiction of how people can fall through the cracks, in a system and get lost in the system. But there is also another element to it. There's this kind of strange, dreamy, slightly hallucinogenic element that takes us into this other world. Apparently the camera sort of goes down a plug hole and then into this mossy cave with a shaft of light, which seems to be something different and transcendent. And, if David Lynch did that, it would be deeply sinister. Actually, I think in this particular case, it's kind of it's like a fragment of light breaking into his world. I mean, I thought it was meant to be uplifting, and I thought it was meant to to flag up an element of hope in the story. Anyway, that's what I thought. So the filmmaking style has been compared to Andrea Arnold. I think I'd add to that, it reminded me of people like Claire Barnard and Lynn Ramsey, and those are very, very good touchstones. I mean, if you're talking about a homegrown, down-to-earth filmmaker who manages to mix the grit with something transcendent, I think that's incredibly good company to be in. As I said, it's a very promising debut. And when Harris Dickison came on the show, the thing I remember about him was that he was really dedicated. I mean, do you remember this? He said that he really needs things to be, to work and to be in order, and he really studies and he thinks about what he's doing, and he's really, really dedicated to it. And the same thing when I interviewed him at the BFI. I think he's a very committed filmmaker, and I think on the basis of this, he's got a very strong career behind the camera as well as in front of the camera ahead of him.
Can I ask you a question here? Just because I find these things interesting. What do you think an urchin is? Without looking it up, what do you think? What do you think it means when you see the word urchin?
So the first thing I would think is street urchin. That's the phrase that I would think of. So it's like a young, scrappy kid on the street. That's what I'd think urchin means. But you're about to tell me that it doesn't mean that.
Well, I would just find, that is precisely exactly what it means. It's a 13th century, it's from 1300 roundabout, and it means hedgehog.
No.
A hedgehog, a small spiny mammal of the old world. And so here's how it's been applied, right? It comes from Cumbria in Yorkshire in origin. Used to apply to people whose appearance suggests hedgehog, from hunchbacks in the 1520s, goblins in the 1580s, bad girls in the 1530s, and then poor and raggedy clothed youngsters a bit later on, like 1550s. But I just think that's amazing. So we've applied urchin to whoever we think is the kind of the person to avoid of the moment.
Wow. I never knew that. Like I said, when I hear it, I always hear it with the word street urchin, and I think of sort of young, raggedy, street raking kids is what I would think of.
Like a ragamuffin, that kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, but how good to know that Harris Dickison is going to be with us for, in whether he's making movies or starring in movies for many decades.
Yeah, no, he's very, very talented. And I just remember the intensity of when we first met him. And that was, it was present again when I told him he's very serious about his craft. He takes it very, very seriously.
Going to be back in just a moment, unless you're one of the hardcore, obviously. With what particular? I was just going to say your bit, but you might as well say your bit.
Well, still to come, we have reviews of The Smashing Machine, House of Dynamite, and, of course, Film Club with our special guest,
Aimee Lou Wood. And we'll also have our UK and US box office top 10. And of course, Mark's favourite feature, which is The Laughter Lift, which just gets better and more incomprehensible. And, of course, Aimee Lou Wood after that. Okay, so here comes the box office top 10. Number 14 is The Dead of Winter,
which I think is terrific. I think Emma Thompson is great in it, and I think it's got, it's a really well-told thriller that I didn't know anything about it other than the title when I went in. And obviously, it's a bit Fargo in the accent and also in the tone, but I thought it was terrific, and Emma Thompson is great in it.
It's number 13 in the US and Canada. Thomas Tull. Let's go with Thomas Tull. Greetings, more camera and wiser. A trip to our local flea pit in Swords, County Dublin on Saturday to enjoy Dead of Winter. As I do not want to reveal anything about the plot, I will merely say impressive performances all round, with Emma Thompson excelling in her role that I now think of thanks to one specific scene as Granbo. Now we look forward to our next cinematic adventure. Thanks to you for you and your crew for stellar work, Thomas Tull. Thank you very much. Thomas. So does Granbo make sense to you? I can kind of imagine where that's taking us.
It does, but I think that thing about, let's not say, because one of the reasons I really enjoyed it, I said this in the review, was that I knew so little when I went in I didn't even know what genre it was. I just assumed that from Dead of Winter it was a thriller, but that was, that was all I knew.
Number 13, Spider-Man 2.1.
So this is the slightly longer version of Spider-Man 2, because the Tobey Maguire movies are back in cinemas because it's some kind of anniversary.
Number 10 here, number 10 over there, A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey.
About which we had a very interesting list of correspondence last week saying that somebody had been to see it and really liked it and really found it moving. It didn't work for me. I think it's Kogonada's least successful film, but I admire its ambition. I do. I think that I just wish that it came together better than it did.
Number 9 is Bad Guys 2.
10th week in the charts, and I have nothing more to say about it than what I've said every time, which is it's Bad Guys 2. Bad Guys, it's that, but 2.
Number 8 in the UK, number 3 in Canada, Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, Infinity Castle.
So, again, as I said when I talked about it last week, visually I thought it was really impressive. I can't pretend that I understood what was going on all the time because I didn't, because I'm not sort of steeped in this. But just from a kind of visual point of view, I enjoyed it. Obviously, the people who have made it the big hit that it is know much more about the story and the story arcs than I do.
Number 7 is They Call Him Is that OG or OG?
Well, I imagine it's OG, so I haven't seen this. This wasn't press screened. This is an Indian action crime film. If anyone's seen it, let us know. We say this every week. It wasn't press screened, so didn't get a chance to look at it.
When I saw this, I thought it was The Stranglers Chapter 2, but it's not. At number 6 here. Number 5 in America is The Strangers Chapter 2.
Yeah, The Strangers Chapter 2, not to be confused with The Strangers 2, They Pray at Night. This is actually The Strangers 4, and it's part of the Rennie Harlin trilogy, which is 3, 4, and 5. And considering that the first Strangers movie was not that great the first time round, but is now considered to be a cult classic, I think largely on the basis of the fact that so many of the sequels have been so pedestrian. I mean, it did give me an opportunity to say that at one point the heroine is attacked by a boar. She was nearly bored to death. So were the rest of us. So for that, I'll give it a pass, but it's rubbish.
Adam Kamak says, as a fan of The Strangers 08 and its sequel, along with Rennie Harlin, I straight up don't understand the point of this trilogy. They might be the most unnecessary movies in existence.
Very good.
And that's from a fan.
Yes, exactly.
Top 5 at number 5, although 24 in America, is The Roses.
Yeah, still haven't. I mean, I'm going to. Every time I see that poster.
No, you're not.
I will. Look, it was that or Demon Slayer. Okay, so I did Demon Slayer.
Yeah.
Give me a break.
How many weeks does it have to be in the chart until you go and see it? What would you think?
I don't know. I keep hoping that it's going to be gone. Apparently, it's quite good. People I know
you're not going to see it.
No, I will. I'll try. Look, I was off for a week. And there's one film that I haven't seen as a result of being off for a week.
There it is, at number 5, The Roses. But it's number 24 in America, so who cares? The Long Walk is at number 4.
Again, fascinating correspondence last week from somebody who wrote in and said for them it was a film about friendship and they found it really moving as that. I mean, I found it an incredibly bleak dystopian portrait, which rings true in modern day America, despite the fact that it was written specifically in response to the Vietnam War.
So it's The Long Walk at number 4.
Yeah.
Number 7 in America. Number 3 here, 4 over there is The Conjuring Last Rites, about which we have said enough, probably.
Yes.
Number 2 here and number 6 in America is Downton Abbey, the grand finale. So you have to say that's doing pretty well, all things
Yes,
considered.
but we never thought it wouldn't. There was never any suggestion that Downton Abbey, with the huge fan base that it has, in a movie that does exactly what it says on the tin, was going to do well. The one point that I made about it when it came out, and I stand by this, is as far as independent cinemas are concerned, this is the kind of thing, this is the gift that we'll keep giving, because particularly with the older audience, you can keep playing this and it will pack the cinemas out. And so good for it. I mean, I thought it was a very unremarkable film, but it was doing exactly what it needs to be doing, and it is bringing people into cinemas.
Left-wing dressing gowns ahoy at number 1 here and over there. One battle after another.
Well, why don't you do emails first? Because, I mean, honestly, I looked back at the length of the review last week, and it was one of the longest reviews I'd done. So I think I've said a lot. I mean, I loved it. What do the emails think?
Dear Glottal Stop and Mumbles, this is from DT. I greatly enjoyed Mark's review of the latest Paul Thomas Anderson film, but couldn't work out for the life of me why it was called Wombat Laughter Another. Perhaps I misheard. So, Wombat Laughter Another was the 3-word title that TT heard, as opposed to One Battle After Another. Anyway, apparently lots of other people have said the same thing. So it's the Wombat film. Thomas Kirkby on our YouTube channel. Johnny Greenwood is the Leonard Bernstein second coming. Just got out of a screening and wow. In Mission Impossible, the stunts were great, but you knew Tom was going to make it because he's Tom Cruise. Here, the car chase, I didn't know who was going to live or die. Highly reminiscent of Sam Peckinpah, Dr. Strangelove, French Connection, Coen Brothers, and Russ Mayer, ? Tony in Todmorden just wanted to say on Johnny Greenwood's score for One Battle After Another, the use of chaos in the score was beautifully resolved in those little password devices that detect each other in close proximity. After hours of chaos and the most artful car chase I've ever seen, we finally hear harmony when the lead characters see Safdie, and it's diegetic, masterful stuff. I think it's the kind of thing, well, that's a bit of a spoiler, I suppose. There's a thing that gets set up very early on. You think, okay, that's going to resolve itself a little bit later on, as indeed it does.
Yeah.
Yada 7360, that car chase scene by itself needs a nomination for cinematography.
It does.
Dear Paul, Thomas and Anderson, from Arthur, student of the Portsmouth Karate Club, Shotokan of the England Karate Union. And it is that which is the key, I think, to this email.
Right.
What a disappointment one battle after another has been.
Ooh.
Admittedly, I went in with very high expectations following PTA's past work and excellent recent reviews, but I would never have anticipated leaving the theatre feeling so uninspired. Despite the film being in many ways well produced, with interesting performances, it invokes and plays around with a great deal of extremely present issues and movements, immigration, racism, white supremacy, black revolution, without ever feeling like it's able to connect with any of it. While I can't claim to be an expert on these topics, I suspect many people closer to these elements in real life will have a great deal to say. The best metaphor I can use is the one scene I can offer informed opinion on. The brief scene in which the young Willa is performing Hyen Niden Kata at her local karate club. As a first Dan black belt, I was able to recognize the kata immediately, and that the actress was using the right moves in the right order, but without apparent understanding how each movement is applied. The result is a kata lacking the dynamism to give it impact or show that the student understands what they've been taught. While the scene itself didn't bother me, it provided a useful metaphor for the rest of the film, for the whole film. All the right movements, in all the right order, but no sense it understands any of it, according to Arthur.
Okay. I mean, we used to have a sort of long-running correspondence on The Hill Upon Which I Shall Die. Mm-hmm. And actually, this does sound a little bit like that. I mean, when Paul Thomas Anderson was talking about that central piece of casting, he said we were looking very specifically for, a person of this age and this ethnicity and a background in martial arts and a thing. And he said, we looked for however long it was. I think he talked about, like years and years and years. I mean, look, I'm deferring to your knowledge of what she's doing, but I think that the phrase that stands out there is that she gets all the moves right. I think you may be looking
in the
for
right order.
I think you might be looking for a different, for a level of depth in an actor who's playing that role. Then again, it was the setup for then a very neat, and this is a metaphor for the film itself. So although I don't agree with you, I admire the writing.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Arthur. You can get in touch and you can email correspondence@kermode.com. What's happening next, Mark?
Well, coming up, we're going to have reviews of The Smashing Machine, which is a wrestling movie, and also House of Dynamite, which is a Kathryn Bigelow film. But before that, we're going to be looking at TV, Film Club, with our very, very special guest,
who is Aimee Lou Wood, along in a moment. So this week's guest is Aimee Lou Wood. She became something of a worldwide name with Sex Education. Clearly her talents have reached beyond that. Most recently seen in White Lotus, Season 3. She's back with Film Club, a comedy for the BBC, which she both wrote and stars in. You'll hear a clip from the show and then my conversation with Aimee Lou Wood.
I'm moving away.
When?
4 weeks.
4 weeks?
Yeah. Bristol. Got a job. New one. Good one.
Family law? Well done.
Yeah, that's what I've always wanted.
I know.
That's what I've been aiming for.
I know.
I'd be remiss to turn it down.
Remiss?
Sorry, I get formal when I'm...
You're nervous, yeah. So happy for you.
And that is a clip from a brand new TV show which is called Film Club. It stars Aimee Lou Wood, one of the stars. Aimee is with us. How are you, Aimee?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. And thank you very much for speaking to us.
Thank you for having me.
So this is promotion for a TV show, but it's kind of different, isn't it? Because this is your show.
It is, and it's not like any feeling I've ever had before. The level of vulnerability is so much higher, and it's been, it's so different to just being the actor. Like it's a lot more personal, and it's a lot more raw, the feeling and the nerves.
Are you liking that feeling? Are you thinking, okay, this will be something I might be doing again?
I love it, and I always wanted to be a writer rather than an actor. And then the acting kind of came about as a way to build confidence and make friends. But my heart was always in writing. I wanted to be like a Bronte sister. You know, I didn't want to be an actor. So I think I definitely want to write, but it's really great because my best friend's also written a one-person show, and they're happening at the same time, so we both are completely understanding each other's, like, it is like your heart. When it's your words, it's just different. It's just different.
So you've co-written this with Ralph Davis. So
Yes.
explain how you came to work together and quite how long this project has taken.
So we met at drama school, we met at RADA, and it was the first day, it was induction week, and we had to do one of those like team building exercise. And we just got on immediately, and we had this shared language like straight away, and jokes, and we got each other's sense of humour instantly. And so that day we were like, we'll end up writing something together one day. And then we did, but it's been the actual conception of the idea to now has been 5 years.
And whose idea was it?
It was both of our ideas. It was during lockdown, and obviously like the way that everyone kind of started to experience the world was through film and TV. Like we needed film more than ever. Everyone got, it was that was our kind of portal to the outside world, was our screens. And I think everyone just needed story so much and needed adventures, and we couldn't go on them. And so that it kind of came from that feeling of, you know, let's write about someone who can't experience the world, the real world, because of, you know, and Evie, the girl that I play in this, she's had a wobble. She's not left the house for 6 months. And so her way of expressing herself and also through experiencing is film. Is her film club that she has every Friday evening, which used to be very popular, and now it's just kind of one person turns up who's her best friend now.
When you say had a wobble, what does that mean?
So she has, that's what they kind of, all the characters refer to it in the show, because they don't really know or want to look at
Apart from your horrible former flatmate.
Yes, exactly. She's kind of the only one who says it as it is, which is she had a breakdown, and she just kind of, I think it's a snap, and I think that the world just got way too much for her, and it all got a bit too overwhelming, and she goes back home to her mum, and she doesn't leave for 6 months. And so films are her kind of comfort, but it's more than that. It's like that film club is everything to her, because it's kind of her last bit of hope that she's got in this time where she feels so lost.
So did this come out of you and Ralph having a mutual love of film, was it just expedient for the plot?
Well, we wanted to write about friendship for sure, and how important that is. We've always spoke about how platonic love is just as kind of valuable and beautiful and wonderful as romantic love. So we wanted to write about that, but also we missed. I'm film obsessed, but we missed the kind of old, more nostalgic rom-com. Everything, we just thought everything was getting quite kind of silent, simmering. Everyone who was falling in love on TV and in films, it was all very kind of sparse dialogue. Everyone was kind of on the back foot. It was all kind of like, you know, these like simmering looks, but not really saying anything. Smouldering. Yes. And we were like, I was like, my favourite film is Broadcast News. It's like, I miss Albert Brooks and Holly Hunter. I want those people back. I want When Harry Met Sally. I want chatterboxes, like neurotic chatterboxes falling in love. Like I want Meg Ryan. I miss that feel. And I think that was kind of both of our main desire, was to kind of bring back that nostalgic kind of, those characters, the kind of clever, chatty messes that fall in love.
Your film club has a rule, which is no phones. And on this show, which I've done with Mark for a number of years, we have a slightly more rigorous code of conduct, which includes no phones, also keep your shoes on, also no snacks, also no drinks, which are allowed, nothing, and if you're eating, nothing harder than a soft roll, because no one wants to hear you eat, no one wants to hear you drink.
Wow.
I'm just passing that on for the next series.
And you know what? You need to talk to Evie, because she needs some. I mean, no one will even do the phone thing anymore. That's like, she can't even get people to give their phones into the basket anymore. Everyone's really getting sloppy in this film club. But I'm with you. I'm very strict as well. And if we're watching a film, we're watching a film. We're not, if anyone gets their phone out, I take it as a rejection. It actually hurts my heart when someone gets their phone out during the film.
In the first two episodes, the movies that you're watching are Alien and Wizard of Oz.
Yes.
Is it a problem that did you ask for clips? Did you ask to be able to have some of the music or something, or is that really not the point?
Well, we were obviously ideally thought, I think we were quite naive in the way we thought, we can have all these clips, and you can't, but it actually helped in a way with the writing of it, because you had to really make sure you were getting the feel of the film within the dialogue and within the atmosphere, rather than relying on just clips. But it also kind of, I think they're also thematically linked to what's going on for Evie, that you kind of, they're the way in. But obviously I was like, oh, can we have Somewhere Over the Rainbow? Can we have this? Can we have that? Can we have that? And everyone's like, do you know how much that costs?
This is BBC Three.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think we've got that budget.
Exactly, but it made us have to be really inventive, and I think in a way it was even more fun of a challenge, because we couldn't just rely on, we had to make sure that we were evoking the feeling of the film without having the film.
There's a section early on where your mum, played by Saran Jones, has taken something that you wrote, your character wrote at the age of 8 from the fridge, and reads it out, much to your embarrassment.
Yes.
Is that you? I mean, were you writing at the age of 8? You said you always wanted to be a writer, but I just wonder if that's part of your life.
Well, my mum definitely wouldn't have embarrassed me like that, but I was writing when I was little, and I was writing a lot of poems, and I was always reading. So like, I was less, when I was younger, it was less films and it was more books, and then it became more film. But yeah, I've definitely was writing quite profound things when I was 8 years old.
We always think we're writing profound things at the age
Yeah,
of
but
8.
then when you look back at them, when you go like memory boxes and of all the like my schoolwork, I'm like, that's pretty good. And then I look at I was just doing a film, and one of the little girls in it wrote me a letter, and it was the most accidentally poetic letter I'd ever read, because it was just she was only 7, and it was just from her. And because it was just pure self-expression without any kind of like filter and judgment, it was just beautiful. So I think children they should be allowed to just be unfiltered and express themselves.
The last 3 things that I've seen you in, this is a writing question. So Living with Bill Nighy, written by Katsuo Ishiguro.
Yes.
Toxic Town, written by the brilliant Jack Thorne, who writes absolutely everything.
Yeah.
Robert Carlyle came on the show talked about that.
Robert Carlyle.
And White Lotus with Mike White. Now you have been working with some amazing writers.
Yes.
Does any of that, do you watch and learn, or have you absorbed any of that? What kind of a writer do you think you are?
Oh, I love that question. And it's actually been so incredible, because they've all got such different approaches. Like, there's no one right way, because so Mike, I think he wrote season 1 of White Lotus in a week. He's just stream of consciousness. He just sits down and it just pours out of him. And it's just, he doesn't plan, he just writes.
I hate people like that. Yeah.
He's a genius. It just comes from here, and it's there. And I think he thinks about it all for a long time, but when he actually sits, a bit like Shakespeare, because he used to think, didn't he? And then he just wrote it all like last minute.
Is that right?
Yeah. So he's kind of like Shakespeare. And then Kazuo Ishiguro, he's like, I just love how his writing is so tender, and it's so delicate, and it's so precise, and everything's in the quiet moments, and that kind of like. So I think he's just got this Mike's is like pure energy, pure kind of blah, 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 chaotic energy. Ish is like this very gentle. It's like he's sculpting something like in the most delicate way. And then Jack is so specific. He's so specific. He's so. I think he's one of the most individual people I've ever met. He's amazing. And I think that he very much likes detail. He wants to make sure that everything's extremely clear. And he wants to make sure that the story is very clear. And I love that as well, because I feel like with Jack, everyone feels involved. No one feels left out or isolated when you're watching a Jack Thorne. Everyone, it's for everyone. And I think that's because he values clarity and honesty and like just human truth so much. So that's what I've learned from them.
So if someone comes up to you on set of your show and says, can I say this differently?
Yeah.
Are you collaborative like that? Or do you say, no, I'm the best writer here. I've written it, you say it.
Certainly not. There were certain lines that I wanted to be said as they were wrote. There were only a few where I was like, it has to be, just because they made me laugh. And then Saran said them. And the first day hearing Saran, because she was always in my head, I always wanted her to play Suze from the beginning of writing it. And because I just always saw her in interviews, saw how funny she was, and I felt like she hadn't had an opportunity to be like, show how funny she is. And so her voice was in my head when I was writing Suze. And so there were certain lines I was like, need to hear you say it. When she said it was just so like better than I imagined. But there were definitely bits where people come up. You know, I loved that part of it. I felt like Holly Hunter in Broadcast News. I was like, had my little script, and they were coming up going, can we talk about this scene? I was like, absolutely. What would you prefer to say? And then going away and like typing it out. It was so fun.
So more of it then. I just wonder, as you're the co-writer in this, will you stay as a co-writer, or is that slightly difficult sometimes and you quite like to just write your own?
Well, I think that Ralph is already writing, he's got a couple of exciting things that he's writing separately, and I think my next thing would be a lone venture also.
You know what it is, don't you, already?
I think so, yeah. Yes. And it's a film.
Has it already been agreed?
No, it's just an idea in my head at the moment. But I was actually writing it in my head when I couldn't sleep last night.
Is there anything written down?
No, nothing's written down yet.
Is it quite exciting then?
I think it'll be good. I think it'll be good.
Are you in it?
I don't want to be in it. No, I really don't want to be in it. I had that thought a few times in doing film club. I loved it, but my favourite bits were hearing everyone. The days that I wasn't in the scenes and I got to hear Saran and I got to hear Napana and I got to hear the words being said by these amazing actors, that was my favourite bit.
My final question, because it's a question which is posed by your show.
Yeah.
I don't think it's answered. If you're having a Sissy Spacek season, do you end or begin with Carrie?
I think you end it with Carrie. You end it with the blood and guts. You have to.
Okay.
I think. What do you think?
You could argue it both ways.
You could argue it both ways, and that's why it's a big question.
That's right. Aimee Lou Wood, wish you all the best for Film Club and season 2 and season 3 and this other movie which you've written in your head or begun.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. They were such thoughtful questions. Thank you.
I do my best.
Episode 1 and... Oh, I talked over myself there. What did I say at the end?
Well done. Well, you were just saying, she was saying how thoughtful it was. And, once again, you leave somebody that you've interviewed just astonished at your interviewing prowess.
Episodes 1 and 2 of Film Club are on at 10 p.m. on BBC 3, October the 7th. Full box set available on iPlayer from 6 a.m. on that date. Before we go any further, I'll say, first of all, that movie that she's talking about, she'll be in it.
Yes.
Even if she doesn't think she'll be in it. Yeah. And secondly, what is your answer to the question of, if you're having a Sissy Spacek season, do you begin or end with Carrie?
Okay, well, first thing, Sissy Spacek, not Czech. You're giving me a look.
Question's still the same.
Yeah, but she's Sissy Spacek. You end with Coal Miner's Daughter. You don't end with Carrie. I mean, I'm sorry, you just don't. You end with Coal Miner's Daughter. I mean, not just because Sissy Spacek won the Oscar for Coal Miner's Daughter, but because you end with Coal Miner's Daughter.
As a logical argument, that makes absolutely no sense at all. But if that's what you think, then that's absolutely fine. You can't just say you end with it because you do.
Well, no, because I would say you end with Coal Miner's Daughter because that is, of all the performances, I mean, and there's so many astonishing performances. I mean, you know, it is an amazing filmography, and you know, you could argue that you end with Badlands because you go right back to that, or you know, you come forward to Old Man, or any of those things. You could make any of those arguments. But the thing with Coal Miner's Daughter is that was, I mean, certainly in terms of the acclaim of it, that was one of the greatest moments of her career, and her Oscar speech was absolutely lovely. So I would say that. I think she was nominated for Carrie, but I don't think she didn't win for Carrie. But yeah, no, I think there is an argument. I think starting a City SpaceX season with Carrie is fine. I mean, you should actually really start it with Badlands, but I think it's fine.
Okay, it was just a mere detail in Aimee Lou Wood's
yes, but you asked me.
Opening episodes. I did indeed. No, well, it seemed to be a decent question. Anyway, Film Club.
Yes.
What do you reckon?
Well, so just to recap, as you said, a 6-episode TV series on BBC Three, and therefore I presume iPlayer, starring co-written by Aimee Lou Wood with Ralph Davis. She's Evie, who's a young woman who's retreated into her mum's house after having a breakdown. Essentially, she's become agoraphobic, can't go out. She's very good friends with, remember his one's Noah, who is her best friend. They've been doing this film club for years in her garage, but now he is moving away to pursue his career as a lawyer. So there's a whole sort of bunch of crisis things going on. She's got an incredibly slimy boyfriend who literally has a label on his head which says, "Do not trust me as far as you could throw me."
Correct. Yeah.
Seems to get on very, very well with her mum. And the idea, yes, exactly, suspiciously well. And as Aimee Lou Wood said in that brilliant interview, which was a brilliant interview, the idea came from lockdown. Everyone's stuck at home and suddenly realizing how much they rely on films. And there was that famous thing about, if you don't think the arts are worth funding, try getting through lockdown without reading a book, watching a TV program, listening to music. And the films that are cited in the film club and that referred to in the film club sort of provide the backdrop. So the first episode, they're doing Alien. Then later on, there's Wizard of Oz. I actually watched the whole series because I did find myself being swept up in it. Then we get Shawshank Redemption, Brief Encounter towards the end. I mean, I love the fact that Aimee Lou Wood's favourite film is Broadcast News, because the amount of times on this show I quote that line from Broadcast News about, "I can't believe it. I say it here, it comes out there," or the thing about, "I know you like him, but he's the devil." All that stuff is great. I also like the fact that she said in that interview that what she wants is neurotic chatterboxes falling in love, which is kind of the sort of definition of old screwball comedy. So here's what I thought about the series. I have to say, for the first few episodes, I wasn't really on board, which is kind of strange because that idea about that obsessive devotion to film is very much in my wheelhouse. But it really grew on me. And because the episodes are like sort of, half an hour long, they're quite easy to just go, let's watch another one. And I ended up binging the whole thing. And it definitely builds on itself. And by the time it gets into, episodes 4, 5, and 6, I was really invested. I really kind of started to like the characters. It had its hooks in me. And it was doing that thing about being a program about the way that we mediate our lives through films. And that's something that we have had so much listener correspondence about on this show. And you often say this show isn't really a film show. It's a kind of correspondence show that happens to be about films. And that's kind of what's going on here. Weird as well to see Owen Cooper from Adolescence as the kid on the bike. Did they make this? They must have made this after Adolescence, right?
Yes, presumably that must be the case.
But he's got, it's a sort of small but significant role in the film, becomes more significant as the thing goes on. But I was going, where do I know that kid from? Where do I know? Oh, that's the kid from Adolescence who's really, really good. So what I'd say is, if you watch the first episode and you're kind of I'm not quite sure about the tone of this, whatever it is, just stick with it, because what I found was, watching the whole thing, it had a cumulative power. By the time I got to the last episode, I was really on board. I was really moved and really touched. I mean, I'm very fond of Aimee Lou Wood anyway. And I love the fact that it's about the way that we really mediate our lives through filmed entertainment. And I thought that it's probably one of the best things you can say about a series is it gets better and better, because the last thing you want to say is it gets worse and worse.
Is it about film?
Well, yes, it is. I mean, it is about the way that we use film in the same way that we use pop songs or that we use clothes or anything like that as a mediation tool for the things that are going on in our life. And the central thing is she's retreated into this garage and she's retreated into this screening room. She almost wants to step through, become, it's like, Miss Havisham or Brief Encounter, whatever it is. But those are the things that are seeing her through this incredibly dark period.
Okay, so that's the new Aimee Lou Wood show. It's called Film Club, and as we said, it's on BBC Three, and you can watch the whole thing on iPlayer. And it's the ads in a moment, but unless you're a vanguardista, obviously, in which case you don't have such things. Tawdry trinkets, really. But for no disrespect to our great advertisers. First, it's time to step once again into our very, very fabulous laughter lift. I had to check one of these.
Go on.
With child one, first of all, because I thought he might get it, and he didn't get it. So I then had to get in touch with the great redactor, who explained it was kind of less significant than I thought it was. But anyway,
okay,
you'll be able to spot it when it arrives. Hey, Mark, it's very nice to see you.
Hey, Simon.
Caused a bit of a kerfuffle at a funeral this week. There was no mobile coverage, and I was expecting an important email, so I asked what the Wi-Fi password was. Have some respect for the dead. You're at a funeral, you muppet, said the good lady ceramicist, her indoors. That's unnecessarily wordy, I said, but I'll have a go. Is that all lowercase?
Is that the joke that you had to run past child one?
No.
Okay.
Anyway, I got asked to leave. Not sure if I told you, Mark, but a little procedure. I've got a little procedure coming up. We had the pre-op meeting with the surgeon.
Yeah.
I've always fancied being a doctor, and I asked if I could administer my own general anaesthetic. Of course, she said. Knock yourself out.
Hey!
Mark, I don't know if you've seen the trailer for The Mandalorian and Grogu.
I haven't.
It's very exciting.
Okay.
He's from the same species as Yoda, isn't he? Lovely, tiny Grogu. Do you know what Yoda's surname is?
No.
Leahy-Hoo.
Yodelehi-hoo. Yes, it's a yodeling joke. Did you have to ask child one about that?
What I thought was, this is a Yoda. There's something, because he's immersed in Star Wars and Mandalorian lore.
Right.
And I thought at 6:30 this morning, is there a Star Wars Mandalorian Yoda thing that I haven't got? And actually, no, it was a yodeling
It's just a yodeling joke. This is like child 2 explaining to me that Biggie Smalls and Notorious B.I.G. are the same person and they duet together on that record. Did child 1 write back and go, no, Dad, it's a yodeling joke?
No, he didn't have any idea either. So it went to the redactor at 6:30 to say it's a yodeling. Anyway, it was kind of not really worth the effort. What's happening next?
2 big movies to review. The Smashing Machine and The House of Dynamite, both of which sound explosive. Boom tish.
On the way. You can email the show, correspondence@covenantmail.com. Kim Sincox on our YouTube channel. For Simon, the Cuckoo horror movie. We were talking about cuckoos and about how their lifestyle is basically a horror movie.
It is.
It has already been made. It's called The Godsend from 1979 and stars Angela Pleasance as the human cuckoo who leaves her newborn with a young family, leading to disastrous results. There you go. So It's already happened. Have you seen The Godsend?
I don't recall it immediately, but I can tell you that when we were in the car, the good lady, Professor Her indoors, got off her bike and said, you do know, don't you, that cuckoos are now severely endangered. They are part of the ecosystem, but because of the way that the climate is changing, the birds that lay the eggs are laying them too early, so the cuckoos are turning up too late. So the cuckoos are now, you need to, and I said, well, why don't you write an email to the show explaining all that? She said, I can't be bothered to do that.
Was she on her bike in the car?
She was on her bike in the car, yes.
You've got some big station wagon there.
So she was launching a staunch defence of cuckoos, and she said we need to stop demonising them.
Matthew says, after hearing the thoughts about the long walk, which I loved and thought was bleak but heartwarming, I couldn't shake this one feeling. And it's this, it was to do with a different film. I can't stop watching K-pop Demon Hunters.
Yes.
And I can't stop listening to the soundtrack. For context, I'm a 39-year-old man. Why, on my morning walk, when I listened to What It Sounds Like, which is one of the songs from the movie, from the soundtrack, was I on the verge of tears? As someone with a history of addiction, you might call it a pattern of addiction. I've been trying to shed it throughout my adult life. The lyrics spoke to me. And for context, the lyrics are, the worse of what I came from, patterns I'm ashamed of, things that even I don't understand. The scars are part of me, darkness in harmony, my voice without the lies. This is what it sounds like. Sure, it's about demons, but when we talk about addiction, we often talk about patterns I'm afraid of, things I don't even understand. In the same way, horror often is an allegory for deeper subjects. The songs and themes of this movie are more than what they appear on the surface. I've often looked back on times in my life where I've inexplicably done things I wish I hadn't, or hurt people in ways I couldn't fathom. Hearing those lyrics spoke to me in a way that I've never really experienced, and it's why I think this film speaks so loudly to me. The entire film is about shame overwhelming you and hiding in it and not being able to be your true self. I mean, it's a silly cartoon about demons, sure, but it really hit home for me, says Matthew. Again, another email getting straight to the heart of what you bring to the movie is what you take away from it.
And also tying in very nicely with what we were just saying about Film Club, about the way in which films often offer you a way of talking about things that you didn't, that you aren't able to talk about, and that's what we're talking about mediating through films. I did enjoy that animation very much, and those tunes are absolutely machine tooled earworms. So how brilliant that you got that out of it! Fantastic.
I went back because I haven't seen the film, but I listened to the soundtrack and I got to that song, and it's testament to the fact that he was listening, because for all the world, it's a classic kind of Disney. It sounded to me like a Disney princess kind of song, but clearly in the context of the movie and with Matthew's history and the lyrics that they've written into this bright and shiny song, it's clearly very powerful.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. There's a lot going on.
Most of us would have missed. Correspondence at Kermode.com. Matthew, thank you very much indeed. What else is out?
Okay, so let's do The Smashing Machine, which is an A24 biographical sports drama from Benny Safdie, who better known previously for collaborating with his brother Josh on films like Heaven Knows What, that I was talking about when I was talking about Urchin, Good Time, and Uncut Gems, the panic attack one with Adam Sandler. This is based on a documentary from 2002, The Smashing Machine, The Life and Times of Extreme Fighter Mark Kerr. Now, I need to say, initially, I haven't seen the documentary, and what I know about extreme fighting, ultimate fighting, MMA, is nothing at all. So, this features Dwayne Johnson as Mark Kerr, one of the original I suppose it was the MMA fighters whose name story I didn't know. And in fact, in the end credits, they say nowadays these fighters are, they're known all over the world and they're celebrities, but this is his name and you need to remember it. So MMA, ultimate fighting, whatever it is, it's basically what it sounds like. It is a very brutal mix of kickboxing, wrestling, punching, throwing, and at the point that we join it, occasionally biting. It's politely referred to as full contact or ultimate fighting. The main move, at least as described in the film, is to get your opponent on the ground and then punch their face into a bloody pulp. It looks to me closer to street fighting or bare knuckle fighting than boxing. And we see Mark Kerr, played by Dwayne Johnson, in the ring, literally beating his opponent's face to pieces. But then we also see him outside of the ring where, at least initially, he is incredibly sweet and polite. Here is a clip from the trailer.
Probably looking at my eyes.
How did that happen?
Well, have you ever heard of the Ultimate Fighting Championship, the UFC?
That's the bloody thing they're trying to ban.
This guy is the best he has ever seen.
Do you hate each other when you fight?
Absolutely not.
How do you know Mark Kerr?
Oh, we go way back, but he's a buddy of mine.
Come on, baby. Too much?
Never.
Too much?
No.
Please welcome in his Octagon debut, Mark Kerr!
Winning is the best feeling there is. It's 40,000 people and they're cheering you on. There's no other high like it in the world.
When he's doing the Mark Kerr, I joined everyone else going mode at that point.
I know, yeah. But you can't imagine what an alien world this is to me, but I did the same thing. So basically, the central character, he can't contemplate losing because he's won all the time. And the film follows his ascension in the sport. His first time in the octagon, you heard there, was, it's referred to, he says it's a cage. His bouts in Japan as part of the Pride tournament, his friendship with Mark Coleman, who's played by MMA heavyweight Ryan Bader. Again, I don't know these names because I don't know anything about the sport. Against whom it turns out he may end up having to compete in the ring, which would be a challenge in itself. And we see how the sport changes. We see at the very beginning the Japanese outlawing a whole bunch of things that that Mark does as sort of signature moves, headbutts to the head, headbutting characters, and kneeing somebody in the head when they're down on the ground. Apparently, it's
is that banned?
Apparently banned for safety. Although then I did some research about it, and somebody said no, they just banned it because it made the games really short, so they want the games to last longer. We also see his home life with his partner Dawn Staples, who is played by the great Emily Blunt. We see how his devotion to the sport makes him turn to painkillers. The strain on his relationship. She can't be in his head when he's doing the sport. She wants to be beside him, but he says no. Every time she walks into a room when he's training, everyone gives her filthy looks because they think that's going to take his mind off it. Now, here's the thing. The story itself isn't that remarkable. I mean, it's not Raging Bull. It's not got that kind of epic King Lear thing through it. It's not a voyage through a man's life. Stylistically, the film owes something to, Darren Aronofsky's The Wrestler, particularly the kind of the shots from behind the central character following on and off the ring, through the corridors, down lifts, that sort of stuff. And of course, David O. Russell's The Fighter. Both of those movies, The Wrestler and The Fighter, were both big awards contenders. And I think that this is being sort of lined up as a big awards contender for Dwayne Johnson. I mean, this may be the film in which Dwayne Johnson, in the same way as, when Zac Efron was in Sean Durkin's Iron Claw, and people were talking about that as being an awards film, although it didn't quite work out the way it was meant to. But I think that this is being lined up as, this is the performance by Dwayne Johnson that you haven't seen him like this before. This is the one that really proves that he's an all-round actor. I mean, he is unrecognizable when you first see him, and he obviously has always been massively bankable. But that kind of critical plaudits out, other than for his sort of comedic work, people haven't talked about him as a great actor, and his performance here is really, really good. Benny Safdie won the Silver Lion for Best Director at Venice. So again, that's very much an awards season launch platform. I mean, it's very well made. The fight scenes are authentically brutal. I mean, it's really like watching people beating seven bells out of each other. And it's really, I found it quite hard. As for the story feels like it's a very truthful version of a story. I have to say it is somewhat dramatically inert, because the story isn't in and of itself particularly remarkable. I kept wondering when, you remember there was that film Foxcatcher, which is a sports movie, but then has got this unbelievable thing that happens at the end that I didn't know anything about because I didn't know anything about it. And I kept wondering, is this story going towards some terrible thing that I should know about? But no, it isn't. It is literally just the story of somebody finding their way in this sport and through their relationships. Emily Blunt is great as Dawn, although I have to say I think her character feels underdeveloped. There's one point in which because she has to be out of the narrative so much when he sort of steps away from her. So there's a point where something very significant happens with her character, and it kind of seems to come out of nowhere. And I felt that she did the best with what she had, but the drama isn't particularly, there's not enough there for her to work with for that character to be fully rounded. Very interesting use of some pop needle drops. I mean, you heard there Elvis doing My Way during the Vegas period, and actually there's a version of Don't Be Cruel by Billy Swan. Do you know that version? It's like a slower version from the 1970s.
No, I mean, I know Billy Swan and I know Don't Be Cruel, but I don't know that version.
Well, it's my new favorite thing. It turns up in the film, and I thought it was great. So anyway, look, it's really well made. I think if it gets awards attention, it's going to be for Dwayne Johnson. I think the story itself is, I confess, somewhat unremarkable. I think that's the problem. But there's also the strength, because it is unremarkable because it's true, because it is just a period in someone's life in which they are finding, and they're so nice and so sweet out in the world when we first meet them. And then the fighting is so brilliant. I don't know whether you've ever seen Ultimate Fighting or MMA fighting or cage fighting.
I can't imagine Okay. But surely if the point is to smash someone's face to a pulp, you don't last very long in that sport.
Yeah, well,
that's it. And then,
yeah. I mean, people are literally in the movie, and I've never seen one of these. I've only seen it in the film. You get them down on the floor, and then you just punch them in the face until the referee stops you because you've broken every bone in their face.
Doesn't sound like a whole lot of fun. But anyway, but the movie is The Smashing Machine.
The Smashing Machine, yes.
The Smashing Machine. Correspondence at KermodeMayo.com. Just before Mark reviews one more film for us, we are encouraging you once again to send us what's-ons. Anything cinematic or cinematic adjacent that's happening to you or near you. We'd like to hear about it. Here's Dan.
Hello, Simon and Mark. My name is Ludo. You might recognise me from such films as Jim Henson's Labyrinth and, just the one film at the moment. I'm here to tell you about the 3rd Wellington Film Festival in Wellington, Somerset, UK, taking place on the 3rd, 4th and 5th of October 2025. We'll be showing such eclectic films such as Laurel and Hardy in The Flying Deuces, F.W. Manu's 1926 epic Faust with a live score, Monty Python's Life of Brian, the result of the local 48-hour short film contest, Fisherman's Friends, Mr. Bones, some Buster Keaton shorts, and Jim Henson's Labyrinth, which I'm in. We'll also have Q&As with the writer-director Sharon Sheehan and festival patron James Purefoy. Plus, we'll end Sunday with an outdoor showing of Mamma Mia. Bring a blanket and a picnic and have an ABBA sing-along. For details and to book tickets, visit wellingtonfilmfestival.org.uk.
I think that's the way to do it. I think it's, get up and sell it. I was impressed by that.
He sounded like he was somewhere between Rick Mail and Ade Edmondson.
I thought it was a bit Python. I thought it was a bit of Python in there.
I thought he was like.
I like that. I think that's good for you. Good for you. Well done.
Okay. Anyway, so 3rd, 4th, and 5th of October sounds a lot of fun. Anyway, Wellington in Somerset. Dan, thank you very much indeed. If you want to advertise in a similar style, or feel free to tone it down a little bit if you fancy, and maybe have it not quite so long. Anyway, just send it to correspondence@KermodeMayo.com. There is something else to go and see.
A House of Dynamite, which is the new film by Kathryn Bigelow, who, of course, made Near Dark, my favourite vampire movie, The Hurt Locker, Zero Dark 30, the first woman to win the Oscar for Best Director for The Hurt Locker, which, of course, famously beat Avatar to the Oscar for Best Film. So this is in theatres, select theatres in the UK from Friday, then globally on October the 10th. So we're getting it early, apparently, and then it's on Netflix from the 24th. So it's a limited theatre. If you want to see it in theatres, go now. So, written by Noah Oppenheim, whose credits include co-writing on the Maze Runner and Divergent series, but more importantly, Pablo Larraín's Jackie. So, it is set in and around the White House, in which US government officials pick up an apparent ballistic missile launch, launched from somewhere they're not entirely sure where, that appears to be on course for America, and how they deal with the ensuing just about 20 minutes before it looks like it's going to make impact. Here is a clip from the trailer.
Approximately 3 minutes ago, we detected an ICBM over the Pacific. Current flight trajectory is consistent with impact somewhere in the continental United States.
Have we seen that country before? No.
Is this real?
Stratcom is asking for launch instructions right now. I'm gonna need you to breathe.
We are talking about hitting a bullet with a bullet.
So it's a coin toss? That's what $50 billion buys us?
Get in the car and just start driving.
If we do not take steps to neutralize our enemies now, we will lose our window to do so.
If we get this wrong, none of us are going to be alive tomorrow.
So, essentially, you get the same 18-minute period seen from several different angles. in which the various authorities are attempting to interpret and then deal with whatever's happening. I mean, essentially, the question is it, firstly, is it a drill? Is it an accident? Is it a mistake? Is that ICBM actually coming towards us? If so, will it explode on impact? Can we do anything about it? And more importantly, where has it come from? And a lot of this is people sitting in rooms watching things playing out on big computer screens, having, video conferences with each other in which they're all trying to make sense of exactly what's going on. And the countdown is ticking down from round about 18, 20 minutes. Taking it out is, as you heard in that clip, like hitting a bullet with a bullet. And the situation itself is described as effectively playing out in a house built of dynamite, because the question is, what do we do? Do we retaliate on the basis of we don't know where it's come from, but if we wait until it lands, we may not be able to retaliate? Or do we wait until it lands and hope that it's a mistake and hope that it doesn't actually happen? And everyone is trying to figure out, what do we do? And the timer is counting down. So if they get this wrong, again, it's a line which is in the trailer. If we get this wrong, none of us will be here tomorrow. It has an amazing ensemble cast. Rebecca Ferguson is the intelligence analyst, Captain Olivia Walker. She wants everyone to keep calm, but she's also got to deal with her own family. Tracy Letts is General Anthony Brady, who wants the president, played by Idris Elba, to act now. Jared Harris is the defense secretary, who realizes that his daughter is in the potential impact zone. Incidentally, terrifying as the film may be, and it is, equally terrifying that role is currently being played in real life by thirsty TV host bozo Pete Hegseth. So, there's terrifying films and then there's terrifying reality. I mean, this is a film in which Idris Elba is the president. And even though it looks like you may have 18 minutes left of the world, you still think, well, it's not all bad. Now, considering that so much of the drama, I mean, obviously there are things outside of rooms, but considering how much of the drama is playing out in confined spaces, people in rooms talking on screens to each other and on the telephone, it is really impressive just how dramatic it is. I mean, the whole thing has a horrible feeling of helplessness and impending catastrophe. Too little time to make decisions, but too much at stake to get those decisions wrong. We see Idris Elba with the guy who carries the nuclear, the suitcase, telling him, you have to make a decision about this. You have to make a decision about this. And you've got 4 minutes to do it in. I mean, Bigelow is really good at these procedurals, particularly military procedurals. Barry Ackroyd, who's the DP, makes everything look like a kind of really, really terrifying documentary. And of course, I mean, that is one of the things which is that Kathy Bigelow has always had that way of making you think that what you're watching is real, which is very much in the kind of in the mode of Paul Greengrass. But one of the things
I was going to say, didn't Barry Ackroyd work mainly? Was he always with Paul Greengrass?
Well, he has worked with a number of people, including Paul Greengrass, and Barry Ackroyd has basically got that kind of ability to do. So when we were talking about, for example, Captain Phillips, we were talking about the way in which it looks like you're actually there. So that is Barry Ackroyd. He's also worked with Ken Loach. So he's the guy who you go to when you want it to look like it's actually real. And when I was watching this, I was thinking, what does this remind me of? And I know some people have talked about, well, it's like an unfunny version of Dr. Strangelove, because it is what would happen. It also reminded me, there's a film from 1988, a kind of cult classic now, and we'll talk about cult movies in Take Two, by Steve DeJarnette, called Miracle Mile, which is set on the Miracle Mile in LA, in which somebody answers a phone. They make a phone call and they answer a phone, and they got this guy saying there's 70 minutes left of the end of the world. And he goes, sorry, what number are you calling? And he realizes it's a wrong number. So he's been told that there is going to be a nuclear Armageddon in 70 minutes, but you don't know whether it's true. You don't know whether that's a thing or whether it's just a prank phone call. You don't know. And I was thinking of that when I was watching this, because all the way through, what they're trying to weigh up is this actually happening? Why is it happening? Is it a mistake? Where's it come from? More importantly, what do we do about it? Because if we do nothing, that may be catastrophic. And if we do something, that may be catastrophic. And I have to say, it's the first time for a long time that I saw a nuclear war thriller that literally reminded me how panicked we all were in the 1970s, in the early 90s, when CND was at the height of its, we kind of all sort of thought it's all right, it's all settled down. The mutually assured destruction thing is, but there have been mistakes. I mean, famously, there was a mistake in which a flock of birds was picked up and was interpreted as being a potential strike. And it's this thing about the potential for catastrophe is, beyond comprehension, and the time period is tiny. And the other thing that's really good about the film is it lands the ending, because the film is very much the start of a conversation. It doesn't provide answers, it raises questions. And it is the kind of film that you will come out of and you are immediately going to want to talk to people about what you think.
Great.
So, it's no surprise that Kathryn Bigelow could do this stuff, but I did find it very gripping and really did take me back to that period in the 70s when we all thought we were a sneeze away from nuclear warfare.
Here's a question, because I haven't seen the film yet, but it sounds as though it's epic. Do you remember when we were talking about The Amateur and Lawrence Fishburne? That was the Rami Malek film, and Lawrence Fishburne came on the show, and I just had to say, I was just broaching the subject at the end, and my interpretation is he kind of agreed with me, but I said it sort of makes a difference to this kind of film when America you're not the same country anymore. You aren't the good guys. We don't look at you and the people running your country think we're on there. So we just don't.
No.
So in the storytelling of House of Dynamite, which clearly has been in the work for a long time, written long time before, I imagine, Trump 2, does it make a difference when you? It does. When you follow the story thinking they're not the good guys anymore.
It does. And one of the difference that it makes, and I was sort of referring to this apparently fatuously, but seriously, in a film in which it looks like the world might end in 18 minutes, the fact that Idris Elba is the president and Pete Hegseth doesn't exist is weirdly reassuring. And also, weirdly, I wish we were in that world. I mean, that is the thing. You look at it and go, this is a portrayal of America that does not exist at the moment.
So that's House of Dynamite. So how long is that in the cinemas for?
Well, it's coming to Netflix at the end of the month. So you've got a few weeks, but if you want to see it in cinemas, go now.
Thank you very much indeed. That is the end of Take One. This has been a Sony Music Entertainment production. This week's team, Jen, Eric, Josh and Heather. The producer was Jem. The redactor was Simon Paul McPoolface. And if you're not following the pod already, please do so wherever you get your podcasts. You can also watch every episode now on your YouTube channel. And what a thrill that is. The Christmas show, you can get the tickets at www.fane.co.uk/Kermode-Mayo. Mark, what is your film of the week?
Well, I'm delighted to say that it's a double bill. My double bill film of the week is Harris Dickison's Urchin and Kathryn Bigelow's House of Dynamite.
There's an interesting pairing. Go see both of them. We'll be back next week, and Take Two has landed alongside this podcast, so we'll talk to you very shortly.